If you're a board member or a manager for a syndicate that is on UpperBee, you have the ability to submit service requests for yourself and also for others. Ideally, a co-owner would submit the service request through the portal, but it can happen that, for example, you get a call and you want to document everything on the portal and treat the matter through a service request. In such cases, it is possible for you to submit a service request on behalf of the co-owner who, to take back that example, made the call. There are two ways that you can do it. First, it is through messages and requests. You can select the right type of request through here. But also, if you go under collaborations and then in messages and requests, by clicking on new request, you will have the ability to submit that service request. All you have to do is select the right type of request, and then you will be able to add the information. The required information will vary depending on the type of service request that you submit for the requester, but there is some extra information that, as a manager or administrator, you will have to fill. The first one is the requester. It can be yourself or somebody else. And you can also add more people as requesters if it was a case where, for example, that demand came from many people. You can also add external participants, so it gives access to people who are not requesters or assigned to the request, kind of like the equivalent of putting someone as a CC in a message. And then in the assignee, by default, if you're a syndicate who's managed professionally, it will be the management company that will be put as the assignee. By putting the management company as the assignee, the system will know who within the management team is the person that is assigned to that type of request and assign it directly to that person. From there, you will also have to add the internal identifier. The internal identifier is the way for the management and the board members to classify the service request that comes in. And so it is required to have an internal identifier upon submission of the request when you do it for someone else. You can also mark the request as urgent if it needs to be treated in a timely manner. And you can also add a deadline to the service request. As mentioned, the other information will vary depending on the type of request, but those are information that the co-owners would have to fill regardless if they were to submit the request themselves. And so you can also submit the description of the problem, add an attachment in this section here, and you also have the possibility of activating certain things before you submit the request. Like, for example, invoicing. So if that work is billable by the management company to the syndicate, you can enable the invoicing for that request and then give the project a name. And so every time that a manager submits a note to the service request, they will be required to add extra information, like how much time they spent on the service request, and how's the hourly rate, if there was any supply ordered, etc., etc. If the service request has to be treated in a certain way, it is possible to add a task list to the service request, and those tasks will have to be marked as complete before you can officially close the request. It is also possible to activate the external contacts, which will allow you to put in the third parties who will be involved in this case and communicate with them through the service request. And also, if there will be purchase orders related to that service request, you can activate them as well before you submit the request. And then, if you click on Save, you will have three options. The first one is to submit the request. So as soon as the request is submitted, you'll be redirected to the Message and Requests webpage. If you click on Submit and View the request, you will be redirected to the service request as soon as it is submitted. And then there's also the option Submit and Complete the request. So that's more for cases where you want to document the request and its resolution and mark it as complete as soon as it is submitted. And so this is how you would be able to submit service requests if you're an administrator or a manager for other co-owners.